Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Fighter Heart podcast. We have another special roundtable tonight. We got Sherown Campbell, we got Howie, and we have Matt on today's panel. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, happy to see you here. Oh, and Peter Overland. Howdy from Dallas. What's up, Peter? So if we can, I'm gonna just, it'll be a random order, but we'll go down the line and have you guys introduce yourselves, a little bit about your background, and then give us a little tidbit of your fighter heart stories, and we'll go from there. Uh, it's Sharon. How do I say it?
Well, Sherown, like
Sure.
sure and on.
All
Yep.
right, Sharon. There we go. You could start us off.
My name is Sherown Campbell. Kind of just an average guy for the most part, growing up in sports and athletics and chasing dreams of hopes and family. And life suddenly changed when I was wrestling with a friend who was a little bit bigger and stronger than me that evening, was trying to get me to tap out, and I broke my neck at C4, C5. Ended up paralyzed as a quadriplegic and have been just adapting to life and trying to move on since then, recovering the best that I can, trying to raise a family and all of the other stuff that comes with it. Life doesn't seem to slow down with these challenges that come our way. So I'm just doing the best that I can.
How old were you again when that happened?
I was 30, so I'm aging myself and I'm into my 40s now. So disability is always a struggle to begin with, but creeping into the 40s, it adds a little sting to it.
Yeah, I hear you, man. All right, Howie. How about you? Maybe you can give us yours now. You're muted right now, though.
I'm off mute. Yeah, I was joined the Army in 2000 when I was 18 years old. Became an airborne ranger. Did a couple deployments to Iraq, and then tried out for the Army Golden Knights parachute team. Did 2,500 skydives with those guys. And in 2012, while I was on the team, I was cycling with a teammate. Distracted driver hit us from behind. I ended up being paralyzed at the L1. I was 30 years old, medically retired. Started doing paratriathlon right after that, thanks to a good organization out of Chicago called Dare to Try. They helped get me back into it and won the national championship in 2017. Been racing international for the last 12, 13 years. And last year I was at the 2024 Paralympic Games for Team USA. It's a paratriathlete.
Awesome. How about you, Matt?
Yes, I'm Matt. Thanks for having me on here again. It's great to reconnect with you guys. Thanks for sharing, Sharon and Howie. You guys have great stories. Howie, you might know my buddy Dave Whalen too. He's a good dude. He helped me out a lot when I was dabbling in some endurance stuff. But I've got a little bit different of a story. I grew up normal life, for the most part, and then 18 years old in high school, I was diagnosed with cancer, kind of a rare aggressive pediatric cancer in my right ankle and ended up doing 9 months of chemotherapy and had my leg amputated below the knee on the right side. Um, at the end of that, I contracted a pretty nasty septic infection, left me on a life support machine called ECMO for 5 days. But really, I made it through that very fortunately with my life and with most of my regular function outside the missing leg. But really, my battles began after that with um, a lot of trauma, a lot of things I'd not dealt with. I really let haunt me from going through that, and it stuck with me throughout a lot of my early years in college. Ended up getting pretty deep into alcohol and let that drag me down a really, really negative, nasty path. I was very fortunate back in 2017 to actually get an opportunity to run my first half marathon, which I did. And then shortly after that, I got into the world of weightlifting and strength sports. And I was actually never an athlete as a child, so it was all very new to me and discovered powerlifting through there. And I've been powerlifting for it'll be 8 years now. And it's been a huge passion of mine. I love the world of strength sports. I've gotten the opportunity to do some endurance racing, run a couple half marathons. Had one attempt at a full marathon that I didn't complete, but I've loved that from like a charity perspective. But I'm not I'm not a good endurance athlete by any means whatsoever. But I am I do have a pretty exciting thing coming up here soon. In the end of August, I'm going to be squatting 500 pounds in competition, which, to the best I can find, there's no official record for this, but the best I can find, I think that's going to be the heaviest amputee squat ever done in competition. So, pretty stoked for that.
Crazy, man. How many people will start lifting after they get amputated?
Hey, man, it got me in my body, got me out of my mind, and it really helped me fix a lot of the issues going on with my spirit.
So cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I kind of have different. We, if anyone wants to know, go in depth on anyone's specific stories, we've done podcasts with them before. You can go back and check them out. So I'm going to ask you little different questions this time, and we'll get a different point of view because we have all different stories here. So let's start with Howie. Um, can you do you have any days that stick out that were specifically like that was the hardest day of my journey? Did anything stick out?
After 13 years, there's been a ton of difficult days in this journey.
Maybe just give us one, yeah. If any
Yeah.
stick out, yeah.
I mean, I guess I've faced quite a bit of adversity, living in a wheelchair. But one that sticks out right now, last year at the games, unfortunately, my racing wheelchair broke during the run, and I went from battle for fourth place to just laying on the ground. And it's hard to come back from, and we're fighting back now. We're headed to LA, so that's one of the things. Those little bumps in the road, just yeah, they never stop. So you just got to keep moving forward.
Say it again. So you said you were in fourth place.
Yeah, well, there's three of us racing for fourth place, and my racing wheelchair, just a part on it broke, and it flipped me over pretty violently. And fortunately, there was one of the officials was there. A couple of officials came over and helped get me back into it. And even though it didn't push exactly the way it needed to, I still managed to get across the finish line. But it was about 7 or 8 minutes slower than than the plan was. So,
Is that a defect of the chair, or is it like something human
yeah,
error?
it was a very custom chair with lightweight parts, and unfortunately, I like to think I just put a little too much power into it. But that sticks out. Obviously it's a more recent one, but it just sticks out because it is a reminder that it's important to set big goals and know that you might fall short, and when you can accept that, it makes it easier to have fun as you chase after that goal. It's okay if you're going to fail, because it's better to chase after a big goal and be a failure than it is to set goals that you can meet just so you can say that you did them. So
Yeah.
mindset.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that last part at the end there, Howie. That's something that we definitely reflect with in my business, Impossible Performance. In fact, in the ride up to this 500-pound squat, I had a conversation with my coach because there was one point where my body was broken down, training wasn't going great, and I'm with a new coach, so he wasn't kind of used to seeing that. And I told him he was wanting to look at maybe adjusting some numbers. I was like, "Look, dude, I'd rather fail attempting 500 than do something I know for sure I can do." That's what we've always said. Like, we want to go down as the people known as the people who fail the most because what we chase is so great. And I just love what that mindset. I love that mindset. Really resonate with that. For me, I definitely agree with Howie. There's lots of really tough days from very different perspectives. I never really had a rock bottom.
He's in the woods, so we might lose him a little bit here and there. I think he's on vacation in the cabin or something. All right, maybe we go to Sherown for now. We'll get Matt
ECMO
back
life
eventually.
support. Oh, can you guys hear me now?
Oh, I lost you. We lost you
Sorry.
for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can with the connection here, but I apologize for that. I'll start back over here. There are lots of hard days, like Howie said, but the one that sticks out the most to me was shortly after I had come off ECMO, and I'd been on paralytics for 2 weeks in like a medically induced coma. And I remember when I first woke up, my muscles had atrophied to the point I couldn't even lift my arm to scratch my own nose. And it was shortly after that they had PT in, basically just to like move my joints around for me because I couldn't like lift my legs or anything like that. They didn't want me to get blood clots. Um, and I was still completely out of it, in and out of hallucinations, didn't know what was going on. And I just remember all I wanted in the world was just to sit up. Like I've never wanted anything so badly in my life than to just sit up. And I just kept asking for it, and she kept telling me like, you cannot do that. Like you're not ready for that. And I was still so out of it. I couldn't comprehend. And I don't know that I've ever felt more helpless in my life than that. I actually still use that memory today on the platform when I get to the bottom of that squat and it feels like there's no way I can even hold that weight, let alone come back up with it. I really kind of put myself back in the shoes, so to speak, of that kid who all he wanted to do was sit up and stand up for a second. And so I try to take it as like a mental piece of like, I'm going to stand up for that kid because he couldn't.
Wow, you really think about that every time? Yeah.
Not every single squat, but every time I'm like at a really,
Yeah.
when I'm really going for something, I put myself back in that place.
Yeah, it's gotta make you feel grateful too. Like you remember when I couldn't even
Oh,
sit
yeah.
up, you know?
Yeah,
I'm sure you
100%.
all you've all felt like that. How about you, Sharon?
For me, it kind of hit from two different perspectives. Like one was me dealing with the physical loss. When I was paralyzed, I lost arms, legs, hands, bodily function, everything. So some of the nights in the hospital, not being able to like adjust my body, some of the things that Matt was talking about, I remember almost going into a panic one night just because the sheets, like literally not being able to like move or adjust the sheet or turn myself at night. It feels like you're, trapped in a tunnel or completely claustrophobic. Like there's just nothing you could do about it. Like just a regular bedroom sheet felt, like hundreds of pounds and I couldn't move it and just stuck laying in bed. And so I started dealing with things mentally and emotionally, like for myself, but then having family on the other end that was probably a little bit tougher for me because my kids were 1 and 3 at the time. And so I remember like when I first started getting mobile and getting out and about again, my son was throwing a rock in the air, just being a child, and launched a rock in the air and it came back down and hit him in the face. And I mean, I felt helpless before dealing with my own stuff, but not being able to pick him up, not being able to hug him, just not being able to reach out or do anything like when he was crying and hurt and I felt like I needed to be there the most, like that was really tough to deal with, like not being able to be the father and person that I wanted to be.
That's a little different outlook on that one. I hear you. All right, let's move on to the next one here. So Howie mentioned mind state. Can you tell us how your mind states changed from before your injuries to after, about your overall outlook on life, basically? Like how drastically did it change? Were there any major habits that you totally changed 180 after? How about you? We'll start with you this time, Sharon.
For me, I guess some of the things have changed. Like I just have like this profound gratitude for everything now. Like, I mean, breaking my neck and going through all that was really devastating. And, I don't know how close that was to life or death, but I mean, you lose your job, you lose the relationships, the image of yourself, kind of everything. But then as it starts coming back, or you start to realize you're still alive, you still get to share moments, you get to be there with family and loved ones. Like now I'm just grateful for everything, and especially getting a return to function. It's like, a second chance on life that I don't feel like I was supposed to have. And I don't feel like I'm deserving more than anyone else. So it's just like every single day, like I'm happy to be here, grateful to be here, glad that I can move. Like I don't move great, but just the fact that I can change a remote or do things with my kids. Like sometimes people see me and they feel bad for me because I'm using forearm crutches or struggling getting around. And I'm like, this is a good day. Like, trust me, I've seen so much worse. Like,
Yeah.
the days that you think I'm struggling or you think is like really tough, like, these are good days now.
Yeah, like I used to not be able to adjust my sheets. There you go. Like now you can do that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just a profound gratitude. And I mean, like I was talking about earlier, getting into my 40s, like it starts becoming more of a maintenance, phase and stuff too. Like I don't know how long I can push recover or how far it goes. So I just want to keep this as long as I can. And I do have to start worrying about, when's going to be the last time that I'm mowing the grass or when is the last time that I'm, able to hike with my kids. So I'm just appreciating it and taking it in when I get those chances.
Yeah, day by day. How about you,
Hmm.
Matt? Did we lose you, Matt? Oh, there you are. You're on mute. Yeah,
All
there.
right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's I definitely have a drastically different outlook from before everything happened to me. I was just like a normal kid growing up, and I really didn't have too much direction or aim in life. I did get pretty good grades in school, but it wasn't out of a place of like drive and wanting to do good. It was out of a place of that's what my parents wanted me to do. And I never really had much in the way of like dreams or aspirations or anything like that for myself. And then going through the battle with cancer and chemotherapy, I was really given a firsthand like eyewitness to see what I describe it as I got to see the best of humanity in so many ways. And I could be here all night talking about everything I got to see. The ways people came out, showed up, supported me. It truly touched me. And it gave me this like newfound sense of responsibility for, I'm going to bring as much good back to these people from this situation as possible, and if I got to go through it, I might as well bring some good out of it. So it was actually like during the years battling or the year battling cancer, I was in a pretty good spot for the most part, at least mentally and spiritually. It was after that when I felt like when all of a sudden stopped fighting for my life every day that I found a profound lack of purpose. And then coming back from there, I once again got to witness that very best of humanity when we all came together again 10 years after I fought cancer to raise a bunch of money for childhood cancer. And so what I started to realize for me, the biggest shift was that, I had so much untapped potential before, and it was only going through cancer that I realized like how much potential is there. And when I crossed the finish line of that first half,
He's in the middle of nowhere, I guess. We keep losing you, Matt. I don't know if you can hear me.
this, we came up with a saying of your potential is your responsibility. And that's something we hold very dear to our hearts because we believe, if you've got the opportunity and you've got the capability, not necessarily even to succeed at something, but to chase something, then it's your responsibility to go do that, especially if it's something you're passionate about. Because what that's going to do is that's going to showcase that exact message to others and allow them to believe in their own potential and chase things that they really want in life but they may be hesitant to go after.
So you feel like you have a responsibility to go after these dreams?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like a driving kind of motivating thing for me. And it's spoken to a lot of our group as well. And it's kind of something we try to instill in everyone who follows with us.
Now, when we lost you for a second, so you might have answered this, but who do you feel responsible to? Is it like family or other
Mhm.
people in your position?
It's basically it's kind of two. There's one part where it's responsibility to yourself and your own of what you're capable of. And just so you can see like, hey, this is everything I still can do despite what I'm battling. But then there's a dual responsibility that's to those around you, those who support you, those who love you, and some people who you may not even know who may be in the exact same position you are. Because there's some key people that showed me back when I was going through some of my darkest days that, even though you're going through this now, like I was in that same situation. Here's what I did so you can do this too. That was huge for me. So, my hope is for any of the kids battling cancer right now, any of the kids with prosthetic legs, I can show them that, hey, you're not confined just to what the world may tell you you are. Like there's all sorts of things you can still go out and chase no matter what you're dealing with now.
Awesome. How about you, Howie?
Um,
Mind state. How did it change?
yeah, mine didn't change. I won't lie. I think it does for some people, and it makes total sense. But my mindset before I got hurt and after I got hurt literally didn't change from the time I joined the military and set big sights on becoming an airborne ranger to becoming a golden knight. Um, you just learn, as you get into these types of units and achieve these high things in the military that you just like you always battle forward and you never stop, you never quit. And so when I woke up in the hospital I literally, as soon as I could, I was on my iPad. I was researching paratriathlon. I was looking at hand cycles. I was setting the next goal. I knew my what I was doing in the military was not going to be feasible paralyzed, and I knew I would be medically retired. And I just right away just came to terms with that and was like, okay, what's next? Shift fire, and let's keep moving forward. And I've definitely always had like, who knows when you develop it as a kid, probably because I was, the smallest kid in the class and stuff, but always had a little chip on my shoulder where I'm like, I'm going to do something bigger and better than everyone else, and regardless of the recognition, it's like a personal thing where I'm like, I did that and I can check that off and be like, like what's next on the highest things I can do. So, it was, the games, and now it's the next games I want to medal, like it's constantly striving for more. And that mindset literally never changed for me. And
It's changing your goals constantly.
yeah,
What you
just like
want.
always, regardless of what happens, like you just keep fighting. So,
Okay, awesome. So Matt actually mentioned he was leading into the next question. Who are some people that were important to your journey so far? So specific people like family or friends, maybe, that helped you get through it, and maybe you wouldn't have if it wasn't for them. Sherown.
That's a tough one because, like Matt was kind of talking about the community and people and the people that come out to just help and support. I mean, there were churches donating money from a different faith, people that I've never met showing up, CrossFit gyms I had never attended. So many people that I've never even been able to say thank you to that were completely strangers, and I didn't understand why they were helping me that way. Like that stuff, is always stuck with me a lot and hit me really hard. So I don't know. It's hard to say like you could have made it without, even like some of the complete strangers, but of course, my family, my mom, my family, we were dealing with the loss of my sister to suicide and depression just a couple months before my injury. So that was really tough. And I felt like I, needed to carry myself in a way that it wasn't more taxing. So even the loss of my sister was, supportive in its own kind of twisted way and fate. And my friends were running social media, coworkers were donating PTO time. I mean, there wasn't really a spot where I can say there was a weakness, like just that kind of love and support I've never have seen before in my life, but I certainly needed every single bit of it. And the doctors, the nurses, had a little nurse named Rosie telling me what every pill was that I put in my mouth. So I made sure that I knew what I was taking, what the purpose was, if I needed it or not, so I could start dialing those things in and get back to pushing myself. And even childhood coaches from the past, like those things of, previous lifetimes. Now it seems like, coaches and lessons and stories like all push me and drive me now.
So the community as a whole was basically your answer for that one.
Yeah, I can't say that there's not a part of my life that, didn't help me get through this. Even I ran track growing up and through college and stuff. So it's same mindset, same habits, same things of like pushing myself. It's just applied in a different direction. But without these experiences in my lifetime and family members, friends, and complete strangers, I certainly wouldn't be at this point now.
Awesome. How about you, Howie?
in the most literal sense, when I was hit by the car, actually, um, it was a carbon fiber bike and it shattered underneath me. And we think one of the seat stays went up and actually nicked my femoral artery. And the way that I was laying on the ground and on the backboard, it was being pinched off. So it was a slow bleed. So they life flighted me to the hospital. And by the time I got there, I was like, a couple quarts low. And the surgeon saw the blood on the backboard and was just, kind of questioning the life flight, like, hey, what's the wound? What's going on? And as far as they knew, I clearly had a broken back and a lot of road rash and some other stuff going on, but they didn't think I had anything life threatening. And he rolled me, found the wound, took me in, fixed my femoral artery, literally saved my life. And he was actually a airborne ranger as well that had served in 3rd Ranger Battalion. So it's kind of a cool Ranger buddy save. Came all the
Yeah.
way down. So that's like in the most literal sense. And then moving forward, like Ron said, like you can't speak enough about the disabled communities, and like between the Warrior Games and the Invictus Games, as far as being a veteran, those organizations, those teams give you that community. You start to get around other veterans that have been injured, and it does give you a sense of what's possible, and a little more drive. And then there's a lot of civilian nonprofits out there as well that for each individual sport, I mean, it doesn't matter what you want to do, from bocce ball to table tennis to triathlon, whatever it is. There's a community out there that can help get you started in these sports. And you can't say enough about how important, one, fitness is for everybody, but also getting out there once you're disabled and getting moving again and getting strong is key to living a full life after an injury.
Matt, I don't know if you heard the question, did you? I know you're moving around a little bit.
Yeah, I think I found a good spot, but let me know if this one's still. I'm in a stairwell right now to get better connection. But I think I'm in a good spot. Are we still on the who was notable in supporting you the most?
Yeah, like specific people, if there are any, or
Mhm.
like for Sherown's case, it was the whole community itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I would definitely emulate with Sherown about like it was my entire community was so key and so pivotal in helping just show support in any way and every way they could. And I think it was really surprising to me to see, especially as a young kid, that like a community could have or a group of people could have the potential to come together in such a manner. But one particular person who like really was there for me in like ways that I don't think anybody else could understand. Sometimes I don't even think I fully understand it. Was who's now my wife, Lauren, and she is just one of the most kind and caring and loving and selfless people I've ever met in my life. And she's an incredible mother to our daughter, um, and she's just the best part of my life to have. And has been for a very long time, clearly since even back then. But we used to sit in the choir room actually, and I had like I think it was like a break period I had. I was still going to school in the days I could. We'd sit in there like every day for like an hour and just sit and talk about whatever. And those moments were really huge to me and helping me get through a lot of that.
Yeah, like the mental health kind of thing, just being able
Yeah,
to vent to someone.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So were there any specific like athletes or people who had injuries similar to your own that you kind of looked up to and were like, all right, if he or she can do it, then I know I can?
Yeah, there was one guy, his name is escaping me now, but he went online as Casey Mitchell's his name. He went by one-legged monster, and he was a one-legged power lifter. He particularly specialized in the deadlift. I think he pulled like 661 in competition, which is that's an incredible pull in general, but especially on a prosthetic. He's a good bencher.
He always gets to the good part, and then he falls off. Uh, Airbnb Wi-Fi, never good.
Times I think he's just a guy that like goes forward and doesn't look backward too much. So we've not connected too much, but he was a guy that first got me into it. And the most he'd ever squat in competition raw anyway was like 435. And I got the opportunity to like set the record beyond that back in December. So now he was going for the 500 at one point, and then I think due to injuries just never quite got there. So it's a huge honor to be able to take on that number now. Though my deadlift has a ways to go before I catch him.
You said 500 you're going for?
Yeah, 500 pound squat.
Good luck. I'm not getting
It's gonna
that.
be a good time. I'm excited for it.
How about you, Sherown? Did you have any were there any athletes that you were looking up to when you were realizing this is what the direction you wanted to go in?
Yeah, a little bit. Not so much of, I guess, like a particular athlete, like in a sport. But after I was injured, I was looking up quadriplegic, spinal cord injuries, just trying to find some type of community or someone to relate to, kind of like how he was talking about before. And I came across one guy. His Instagram was the Bounced Quad, And I remember like looking at his profile, and it's not an athletic page, it's just his personal profile, but he was doing squats, working out like in his home gym, and found myself like trying to like stare and kind of tear apart some of his videos. I'm like, he's not really paralyzed. Like, what's going on? And I could catch the little movements and mannerisms where I could, see an injury and things that he was working on. And um, I believe he was injured in his late teens. And so, I mean, he's had a lifetime of just working around this injury. And so, like, I really looked to him to figure out, like, what did you do? What helped you with your recovery? How have you moved forward in life? Because he was injured longer than I was at that point in time, too. So just seeing people that have managed this and worked around it for so long, like, it's not from an athlete perspective so much, but people that are actually living it and able to like work out and get some type of improvement or gain facing these challenges. Those were the people that I looked to, but especially that one specific guy. And then I've had a good community since then and keep bothering anyone that might have help and tips when I find them.
Did you personally reach out to him, like DM him or whatever?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was being a creeper and DM'd or something.
Did he answer? Hopefully.
Yeah, we're good. We're pretty good friends online and stuff now. We've actually had like a quad meetup at one point where it was me, him, and a couple of others from across the country and just all got together and hung out at different levels of, spinal cord injury and hung out, had a good time. And, we chat and trade stories now. What medications work, what we can complain about with insurance, how families going, dealing with things mentally. We send each other challenges occasionally, like, we'll work on this month, and uh, it's just kind of our own little family
I'm
now.
sure there's a lot you can complain about with insurance. We all complain about insurance.
Yeah.
Howie, how about you?
Yeah, shortly after I got injured, like I said, I was on the Golden Knights, the Army's parachute team, and we would do kind of co-jump sometimes at air shows with the Navy's team, the Leapfrogs, which is made up of a lot of Navy SEALs. And one of the guys that I jumped with a lot from the Navy SEALs reached out to me right away and was like, "Hey, if you're going to get back into triathlon, like you need to get a hold of this guy, Carlos Molita." And Carlos, also a Navy SEAL that was shot in Panama and paralyzed back in the like 92, I think 94, pretty
Mm.
early on. And he became one of the first wheelchair Ironman world champions to go and just smash Kona and set records. And he's like, you just need to reach out to this guy. So yeah, quick found him on Instagram, messaged him and linked up. And eventually, he, like I said, he wasn't done racing by any means, but he was like kind of the older generation, really mentoring a lot of the newer athletes through Challenge Athletes Foundation and coach for Dare to Try at some of the camps. And so getting to talk to him and then meet him in person and do some camps with him, again, like two veterans, similar disabilities, and I have, you know, aspirations of doing what he was doing, on the big stages. So it was really great to meet him early on in my career. And so,
Would you reach out and just tell him your whole situation, basically? And he hit
yeah, I mean, I was just like, hey, we got a mutual friend, Jim, and he told me about you, and I just got paralyzed, and kind of told him about myself, and yeah, he was quick. I mean, there's one thing, and I can't speak to all the sports, but I know in the veteran world, when it comes to the guys that are veterans and high level competitors and in sports, they're pretty quick to give you all the information you need to succeed. I know paratriathlon specifically between guys like Carlos Molita, Krieg Shabort, some of these older guys that were in the sport before me, like I would just pick their brain and, like, how do I get better at this? What part do I use for that? And they, even though some of them are still competing and they were my direct competition, like they just want to see the sport grow, right? And they just want to see people with disabilities make every sport better and bigger and more inclusive. So they were quick to be like, "Here's what you need. Here's what you need to do. Let's get the sport going and really make it big." So
yeah, healthy competition. Very cool.
yeah,
Okay, so we talked about this in your individual interviews, so just keep it a little kind of brief, but like, can you walk us through your training regimens at this point? How you train for competitions or races, whatever it may be. Start with Howie. You're already on. You're already on.
oh, yeah. I mean, I can't speak enough about even if you don't want to pursue a sport at the highest level, even if you're just looking to get back into fitness, can't recommend enough getting a coach, getting a mentor, someone that's can help get you on track. And so for me, I have a coach. He schedules my programming. I'm swimming, 4 times a week. I'm in the bike 4 times a week. I'm in the racing chair 3, 4 times a week. I'm in the gym a couple times a week, and doing recovery work like crazy. Actually, just moved to Albuquerque recently, and
Hmm.
me and my girlfriend bought a house, and we put in a sauna and a hot cold plunge, and
Oh
uh,
yeah.
yeah, I mean the whole garage is decked out with a swim trainer and roller for my racing chair, and so it's pretty steady. It is my day job to where I'm doing at least 2 workouts a day, and then on top of that, in between workouts and post workout, at the end of the day, I'm doing recovery work. Um,
Are you like starting the day with a cold plunge at 5 a.m.? Are you like that kind of guy?
No, I'm not that guy, but I'm the guy that I'm like, well, if I'm gonna go swim and I'm gonna be wet anyway, I'm gonna come home and I'm just gonna hot tub and then cold plunge and then hot tub and then cold plunge and just bounce back and forth, and it really does help flush out the muscles, and then change and get ready for the next workout. And then on the off days, usually, like the Tuesday, Thursday workouts, I'll finish in the gym, and then me and my girlfriend will hop in the sauna and get our sweat on, and just detoxify. And so everything I'm in there, I'm scraping my forearms, because it's all grip strength for hand cycling and racing chair. So I'm literally scraping, Theragunning while I'm, doing all these different modalities of recovery. And I think that's another key piece of any training is, Tom Brady called it pliability. And so I've always got my bands, doing a lot of band work, staying stretched out, staying loose. Like Sherown, I'm also in my early 40s now, and a lifetime of military jumps and rucksacks on my back. My body's taking a beating, and so it's all about staying as young as I can on the as far as the Garmin watch wants to track me and lets me know my age is less than I really am, so I can keep up with the younger guys that are coming up.
Hey, it seems like it's working, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so
It-
far.
so yeah, a couple workouts a day, a cold plunge,
Yeah, and
and
recovery, man.
some
Recovery.
sauna, some Theragun, and you'll stay young.
Yep.
Matt, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely resonate with Howie on the recovery piece. That is huge for me. Although my training actually looks quite different. So powerlifting can definitely change as you go throughout the season. We've got on-season training, off-season training, and right now I'm being 4 weeks out. I'm in like getting ready to like this weekend. Actually, this Saturday is going to be my peak max effort squat session before the competition, like the heaviest I'll squat before the competition. So right now we're in very much the mode of every session is maximum intensity, but the volume is actually quite low as far as sessions per week. So I only train 3 times per week right now. I do one day of squat with accessories, one day bench with accessories, and one day of deadlift with accessories. But each session will last about 3 hours. We focus on the competition movement itself. We're working up to max effort singles right now, and then we'll do back down sets to work on just like CNS overload as well as form throughout the movement and things like that. And then some, we're not doing as much accessory work right now, but definitely to work on some strengthening certain supportive muscles and joints and things like that. It's huge in the off season. The accessory work is, but I definitely would second what Howie said about getting a coach. I actually switched, and this was a big gamble for me. But I had a coach for about 2.5 years straight, and he and I were really used to working together. We knew each other really well, and I took a gamble and made a switching coach back in May for this contest prep leading up to the 500 because there were just some things with the old coach. Very good guy, incredible athlete, incredibly knowledgeable, but it felt like we were kind of beating my body down way too hard, focusing a little too much on that just like rage and emotion and not enough on the form and the control and the recovery piece. And I didn't know that I'd quite get to 500 with how we were working before. Took a gamble, switched coaches, and it's actually paid off massively. This new coach, very different style, very different approach. Took us a little while to adjust, but now I'm squatting much better than I ever have my entire life, and so it's working out well. But that recovery piece is huge, especially I feel like for athletes who face any sort of disability or physical challenge, because like you say, our bodies have generally been through other things medically outside of even just the disability itself. For me, coming like 12 years now out of chemo. I'm starting to come up with a lot of issues that chemo can cause later in life. Like I've got pretty bad liver scarring, my kidneys are damaged. My heart it went into AFib last year. And now it's acting all kind of wonky. So just random things like that. So I got to keep up on supplementation really hard. Obviously focus on sleep and nutrition, and mobility is huge for me as well. So the recovery piece is definitely huge.
Those injuries have to be pretty common with powerlifters, right? Like heart and stuff like that. Like you put your body under a lot of stress when you're lifting.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, it's a sport you can actually do very healthfully. And, for me, it's helped me strengthen my joints a lot to where I can go run half marathons plus, at 260 pounds, without any like knee pain or hip pain or things like that, which I'm very thankful for. It really just comes down to how you handle the sport. But it's not so much the powerlifting that's contributing to those sort of issues. For me, it's just mostly from the chemo. This is stuff that just they kind of expect to see down the line in life, especially being on the ECMO and the organ damage that can cause as well. So nothing too major yet. Just stuff you got to work around and deal with.
It's stuff that's completely reversible at some point.
Well, we don't know. We're kind of in unknown territory right now, is what a lot of my doctors and a lot of my specialists tell me. So we're just kind of adapting based on what they know, what I know about my own body, and trying to keep things as healthy as possible. Like I say, it's stuff that you expect to see at this point, with or without, doing strength training, things like that. That being said, I am kind of taking a step back from the hardcore competitive side after this competition, simply because it's just taking too much time to compete at this level. And I've got other priorities I want to be able to shift that time and focus on. So I'll still be competing for fun and mostly working with younger guys to help them come up as well. It's a shift I'm very excited for, but I'm also hoping that'll give me more time to focus on my health and sleep and all the other things that go into it.
Yeah, you got to eat a lot too, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
you
the
got to eat a
eating,
lot, right?
yeah,
A lot
the
of
eating gets,
protein, I would
yeah,
assume.
yeah, yeah. We've got nutrition pretty dialed in. I'm actually fortunate. I don't have a problem eating like some people do. Like just getting in enough calories that doesn't bother me too much. But I'm definitely ready to like cut back some weight and not like I'm pushing. I'm actually pushing. I'm going to compete at 275, so I'm going to push right up against that. Um, and I'm ready to not be that heavy anymore.
Yeah, get it down a little.
Yeah.
How about you, Sharon? What's your training look like?
Well, I'm a little jealous of Matt and Howie because I feel like some of my competition days have gone beyond me. Being a quadriplegic, it's such this a weird space because it's hard to really standardize sports for a quadriplegic, and especially for like a walking quad. I tried playing quad rugby at one point in time, and my left arm wasn't working really well, so I'm doing, pretty much circles in a wheelchair, and some of those guys have really no function from the shoulders down, and they are just whooping my tail up and down the court. And then even having to go to the bathroom, I'm faster getting out of the wheelchair and using crutches to go to the bathroom where I can't make it in a wheelchair. So it's been hard for me to find a place in sports anymore. But I ran track all through college, did very well, learned a lot. So I'm pretty good at programming my own stuff, and it's usually been based around recovery, what I could do to get some type of return function, training to stay in shape, training to keep up with kids, participating in medical studies to see if I can further some of the research in spinal cord injuries, and just seeing what works for me and doesn't work for me. And between me and my girlfriend, we have 5 kids and ranging from ages 5 to 15. So just keeping up with them has pretty much been my training, and I get up at 5 a.m. not for the sake of being hardcore, but that's the only time I can get it done before they're getting up. So I do it, get them breakfast, get them out to school, come back home, log in, maybe get some biking or cardio stuff done, stretching, acupuncture, recovery work, and next morning get up and lift and hit it hard again. And It's more about routine for me these days than trying to like actually build peaks like you would for athletics like I used to. But as long as I can maintain health or get any kind of recovery, I'm all for it.
Sweet, sweet. So we're coming towards the end here a little bit. I got a few more I want to get in. Um, when did you guys realize you were starting to heal, or like, was there a point after your injuries where you were like seeing a lot of progress and you were like, all right, this is working, like, and it kind of made you double down? Howie, you want to start?
Do you mean like as far as like rehab, like return function, or you mean like sports
Um, I guess return function.
or like life?
Yeah, I, you know,
Uh,
like
because I did.
I'm thinking like like you already gave in to the plan, like your doctors or your whoever's helping rehab you, and then when did you start to see results basically after you started?
Yeah, I mean, with my injury, I did a long stay at what was the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago back in 2012 into 2013. I was there for almost 6 months, doing inpatient and outpatient walking therapies and just trying to see what would come back. But at the same time, like I kind of looked at it as like a two-sided coin. Like, yeah, you want to work super hard and do all your rehab and see what type of return function you can get. But I also had and I had that hope, but I also had the realism to say, hey, there's a good chance I'm going to be in this wheelchair. So at the same time, like, let's get independent. I don't want to have to rely on anyone when I get home. So it's like, let's get in the kitchen. Get in the laundry room. Like, I want to make sure I can do all of this. And I started to train so I could start to do paratriathlon so I could move forward once rehab was over. And I did my first race about a month after I left rehab. So I was 7 months post injury.
Wow.
So I'm from the mindset of like just jump in the fire, like that's the best way to test and find out. You can think and hope you're ready all day long, but until you actually, get in there and start mixing it up, you won't know. And the sooner you do it, the sooner you're through it. So
Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
I kind of knew right away. I was like, all right, like I said, I knew I was going to get medically retired, and I was like, all right, like this is it. And not to say that every day's been, uh, you know,
Rainbows.
my
Yeah.
tie, uh, awesomeness, but there's some dark days. But I kind of had like like I said, that goal setting. Set those goals out there. Be smart about them, short term, long term, and just start ticking them off, and that way you feel progress, right? And and then that's how you know if it's working. That's how you know when you're ready, is if you're moving forward and checking those blocks. So
Gotcha, gotcha. Sharon, how about you?
I'm a little hard-headed. Like I'm always trying to work to recover. I have, like how I said, that point of acceptance. Like this might be as good as it gets. But for a while when I was in the hospital, I just wouldn't tell anyone when I was trying to move. But every time they'd roll me over, I would try. Every time they'd get my clothes on, I would try, and I just wouldn't say anything. And one day, a nurse was reaching under me and trying to lift me to get me like in a lift, and they're like, "Did you just try to move?" And I was like, "Yeah, have been trying," but the fact that someone else acknowledged it, like I didn't want false hope from anyone. But even then, I'd get like a toe twitch, and I was like, well, a toe twitch isn't going to get me out the door tomorrow morning. And then I finally started working and standing, and it's like, okay, well, standing, I can't get to the bathroom by myself. And so it's that constant goal setting of like going further and further, but then you also have to be, you know, somewhat disassociated from that success where you're like, nothing's ever enough. I'm always just goal setting, always pushing myself and always going forward. So I accept that it might be as good as it gets, but I really enjoy chasing dreams and hopes. So that's
Baby
where I'm at
steps,
still.
one step
Yeah.
at a time, right?
hey, Sharon, I'm gonna roll. We're gonna roll for a second. I'll show you something I think you're really gonna like. Um,
Oh,
go
we're
under this thing. So this is you guys are gonna see my metal case here in a second. There, see all the tons of metals over there, and then that right there.
nobody
Uh,
cares. Yeah,
Work, right? Just set it up and yeah, never be good enough. Keep
Pretty
pushing
much.
forward. Yeah.
Well, with little kids in the house, little kids will humble you so quick. Every single time racing to a door, I have a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old telling me how slow I am. So I have a constant reason to push harder. Maybe one day I'll catch him, but right now I'm getting my tail whipped daily, so I have a lot to work forward to.
Matt, you here with us? Yeah, you are. You're muted though. Oh, there you go.
All right. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Yeah, so I've got I'd say three key moments similar that really solidified that kind of like change in direction for me, at least reinforcement of a direction I was already headed. What's interesting for me though is none of those occurred when I was going through cancer in the hospital, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, those were mentally, spiritually, those were actually pretty good days for me because I had something to fight, something to chase, something to go after. It was after that when I lost purpose that I really got into some dark places. The first key moment from about 2014 to 2017 is when I'd gone downhill, diving into alcohol and a lot of negative directions and paths and mindsets. And it was just kind of by random chance that I ended up training for very minimal training, but ended up completing my first half marathon in 2017. And I remember when I
He always without fail. That's so funny. We lost you, Matt.
really started turning me, didn't like, I didn't just change overnight and all my alcohol problems went away, all my mindset
Matt,
got better.
can you run it back a little bit? Because we lost
Yeah.
you about for like 20, 15 seconds, something like
Oh,
that.
okay. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no
I
sweat.
think I've got about the best connection point I can get here. But yeah, just cut me off when I go out. So the first moment was at when I crossed the finish line of my first half marathon in 2017. From 2014 to 2017, I've just been going downhill, some dark negative mindsets, and with alcohol and everything else I was into, and it was crossing the finish line there that I first realized like we have potential so far beyond anything we could ever imagine, and that's what really it didn't make all my problems go away overnight. Didn't like fix all the issues in my head and in my heart, but it did get me moving in a better direction, and it's what eventually led me to getting in the weight room, discovering powerlifting, everything like that. Then the second key moment would have been in 2023. This was 10 years after cancer. I'm totally sober at this point, and we go after running a full marathon, ended up raising like $32,000 for child cancer research, which was just one of the greatest blessings of my life. But there was a moment halfway through training there. Um, where I actually broke my real foot. Um, and it was the funniest, most ridiculous thing ever. For like 3 months, I'm crutching around on my prosthetic foot, and it was just wild, and it felt so ridiculous. But that was a moment where like I really had to kind of work through that and fight through that and show myself like my capabilities were all of a sudden challenged completely all over again in ways that I found a ways to adapt to having one leg and now I had to adapt to having no legs. But fortunately, was in a much better headspace, much better mindset at that point, able to get through that. But the key turning point there for me was the some doctors told me I'd never run again. Some doctors told me it'd be 2 to 3 years because it was a Jones fracture on the fifth metatarsal. I guess it's like a really bad one with really bad blood flow. Doesn't heal well,
Mm.
and I already have bad blood flow anyway because the chemo. Um, but so I just kept like testing things out, seeing how they were going. I started, just seeing how my foot could do once we'd been off of it for 3 months, and ended up training to do another half marathon in about 4 weeks. And then the week after that half marathon, I competed in a powerlifting competition just to see what I could do. Did the half marathon. A week later, pulled 500 in competition, and that was another key moment for me where it's like, wow, like that's where we came up with our phrase of like we say limitations don't exist, because effectively most limitations we create for ourselves, at least for me in my experience, has always been in the mind. And if you can get past the limitations we place on ourselves in the mind, there's so much potential out there that it's essentially endless. So that was a huge piece for us. And then the last moment for me was actually the moment that I quit my race at mile 18 of the marathon that year. And we'd had a bunch of trouble. That whole year was just a year of like setback after setback from a training perspective. My foot not even being the broken foot, not even being the major one. Um, I developed some weird like muscle breakdown condition where my muscle breakdown levels were and still do sometimes run as high as somebody actively having a heart attack. So I was going into the race with that, and it creates a lot of problems with recovery. um, but I was going into it, and everybody's like, "You should just drop down to the half. Like, don't worry about it. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to judge you. Like, you can do a half." And I almost did. Like, I almost gave into that, and I almost thought, you know what, this will be good. This will be a good closeout to the year. And I don't know what triggered it in my. It was actually a discussion with my good friend JD, who ran the race with me that year. Incredible mind and spirit himself, but he told me, he's like, you know what, you trained all year to do a full marathon. Like, you might as well show up for it, and put that faith in your own potential. And so, there was that conversation with him. I was like, you know what? That's what we're going to do. Didn't seem possible at all. I should be able to run a full marathon. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to see. I know that if I attempt a full marathon, I'll go further than I would if I just settled with a half. And it ended up being 18 miles. Urine started turning dark brown. I was going into that like active rhabdo. And with the history of chemo and everything on my kidneys, I just decided to call it there. I quit the race. I got to own up to that. But to me, it just wasn't worth the health risk at that point. But that point was just so crucial. So it reinforced the idea of, you know what, I showed up to at least attempt and go as far as I can with what I said I was going to do, and I didn't settle for less. And that mindset has been a big driver for me going forward. Like I said at the beginning, I'd like to be known as the man who failed the most, not because I give up too early, but because of what I attempt is hopefully just that difficult.
Yeah, it's one of the Michael Jordan quotes, right? Like he's missed how many shots that they have some stat on it. Like he's missed way more shots than made. So you gotta fail to do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're coming up. Let me get one more in here. So I'm interested to know what your definitions are of the word strength. And then has that definition changed before and after your injury? Howie, you want to start?
Um, Man, I guess like there's a mental and physical component to strength. But the mental strength, I think, growing up in the military as a ranger was always, um, we've touched on it over and over again in this conversation. But like Matt said, there's limitations we put on ourselves sometimes, and the way I was raised, the mental strength that I was brought up within the military was like, you always are going to survive anything that happens in combat, anything that happens anywhere. Like, you're not going to get hurt. It's just kind of like what's driven into you. And even though that's not realistic, like when you have that mindset and that strength of mind, it makes it a lot easier to go into the fight, whatever that fight is, whether it's combat or a competition or life. You know that you're going to fight till the very end to get what you want out of it, to succeed the way you want to. So
Bend, don't break, right? Never break.
yeah.
Yeah. Sharon, how about you?
For me, it's a lot more mental and emotional probably than anything. And some of that, I guess, comes from what people have had like their perspectives of me, like having done sports before my injury and being really strong and really athletic. A lot of people thought it was just genetics. Um, Maybe I was a good athlete, maybe I was like strong. All these reasons for me doing something good was, based on like this physical component. And then after my injury, same exact habits, but now all of a sudden people see strength in me or see something, but it's because they expect me to fail. They expect me not to get up or have a smile on my face being in the situation. And I'm honestly doing the exact same stuff that I was doing before my injury. It's just applied in a different direction, whether it was, track or being disabled and raising a family. Like I was getting up at 5 o'clock for both of them. I was in the weight room for both of them. I was doing completely different things, but back then I was benching over 300 pounds and now I can barely get like 65 pounds. The mindset's still the same. I just physically don't have the same output.
So your definition of strength changed from physical to mental, would you say?
No, it's always been mental for me, but just seeing the way that people look at me, it's some people see it as physical like at first, but it is much more of a mental component to me because they see probably more strength in me now, the way that I'm dealing with my disability. Like they didn't see that strength in me when I was a competing athlete, just because it was more of an assumption that he's strong, he's fast, he's supposed to do that. Now that I'm not supposed to do it, now all of a sudden I'm looked at as, more strong or inspirational or all these other things, and I'm still the exact same person.
Got you. Matt, how about you? You have a lot of strength.
Yeah, yeah. Being a strength athlete, this one definitely hits close to home for me. I like to define strength as the ability to resist and overcome pressure. And that can be applied to the what we talk about, the four domains of performance, which is mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. And you have to train, I think, all four modalities in order to maximize strength. But like what Sharon said, so many people just focus on the physical when they look at strength. And there's three other modalities outside of that. If you maximize those other three modalities, which you can work on pretty much regardless of any disability or any challenge you face, you maximize those three, it's going to move the needle so much further than any amount of work just on the physical could do. And, in strength sports, it's really interesting, particularly powerlifting. So we get three lifts, squat, bench, and deadlift. We get three attempts at each lift. From the moment that weight is set and the judge calls platform ready, you have 1 minute to go out onto that platform, get your belt on, sniff your ammonia, do whatever you need to do, get your setup right, lift the bar up, get your feet set right, and then to go execute the lift and re-rack the bar. You have 1 minute to get all that done. Um, and it's not a lot of time once you get on that platform because it takes quite a lot to put yourself in a space where you can perform true max effort output. And I see so many athletes, and this is not to speak ill of anybody because it's just an area we don't discuss enough, I think, in the world of strength sports, especially. But I see so many people who are unbelievable physical athletes, yet they get crushed under the anxiety in their head of like, I've got this little tweak on my ankle. What if this doesn't go right? I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be in front of all these people. You can see it on people's faces when they get up under that bar. And in strength sports, it's like one little tiny thing can go wrong and it can derail the entire lift and the entire meet from there. And so it's that ability, you have to focus on that mental, spiritual, and emotional capacity. And I literally believe that if you can build that up strong enough, you can manipulate your own physiology, physically speaking, to give you certain amounts of output beyond what may be your normal physical limitations. I truly believe that because I've experienced that for myself. And so that's one thing we really push hard with our business and our group is just focusing on these other domains of performance, the mental, spiritual, and emotional to help you resist and overcome the pressure, not just of the sport or the activity you're chasing, but especially of life.
You see it all the time in professional sports, like freaking Aaron Judge can't do anything in the playoffs. I'm going to go on a tangent, but Aaron Judge, I mean, come on. Last year is crazy, but yeah, like or A-Rod back in the day, he's stunk in the playoffs, but he hit 60 home runs. So it's like you got to be able to deal with the pressure. All right, so we're coming at the end. I got one more and then I have like a funny one. So what is the most surprising thing you guys learned about yourselves going through everything that you've gone through so far? How'd you surprise yourself? Sharon, can we start with you this time?
Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of tough. Like I was saying before, a lot of things I'm kind of the same person before and after injury. I just wasn't expecting to deal with what I was having to deal with.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, I guess being somewhat as happy as I could be dealing with the injury, I guess would be the most surprising part. I mean, breaking your neck and losing arm. leg function, all that other stuff. It's devastating. I lost a job I had been working towards, had to give up a home that I had bought, had to lose a marriage that, these were all life goals that I had just recently attained and they were gone and out the window. And so you start thinking about like, how is life going to be? Like, I lost everything. Like, how can you be happy after something like that? You can't even go to the bathroom on your own, can't change the channel like on the TV, nothing. So, I mean, figuring out life again and new identity, new family, friends moving forward, just happiness and the gratitude that came with it. Like I never would have expected if you had met me before injury and I were to think of someone going through this type of situation or being injured like this, I would find it very hard that they could be like that happy or that content and still enjoying life. So that would probably be the biggest surprise.
Gotcha. How about you, Matt?
For me, the thing that's surprised me the most, I would say for me, the shift is not coming out of cancer, but again, coming out of that really dark period from 2014 to 2017. The biggest surprise I've actually realized in the past year and few months, and that's my capacity to love, and not just love life, but specifically, my daughter was born in June of 2024, and leading up to that, there was a lot of excitement, but there was also a lot of fear and anxiety in my own ability to care for her, and my own ability to trust myself in carrying her room to room or whatever it is she may need because I fall all the time. I'm pretty reckless as a human, and so like I'm just falling all the time. And I don't tend to have a lot of I have a lot of reckless abandon when it comes to my own personal well-being and safety. I'll just fall and get back up and keep going. But with her, it added a whole new level to the game. And I'll never forget like the first time I held her and walked around the room. It was just like carrying the most precious thing I've ever experienced in my life. And then as she started growing and getting to know her and getting to experience her, and now she's old enough, we can throw her on the bed and tickle her and, kind of play around with her and stuff. And it's just such a beautiful thing. But there was recently a time where my wife had to go on a trip for about 5 days, and it was just kind of me and her doing our thing and living life together, and it blew me away. Like I finally had this moment, this really empowering feeling of like, man, I can provide for her, I can take care of her, and that was just one of the most gratifying things I've experienced in a while, um, and it really helped me absolve a lot of things that I didn't even know I was still worried about or still dealing with. But the love that I feel for her is something I feel like I would not have been capable of before I'd made this growth and this shift in my life since 2017.
That's awesome. I relate to that one. I just had a baby girl too, so
Oh, congrats, man.
yeah, just so cool.
Yeah.
Howie, how about you?
Yeah, I think after a traumatic injury, I think anyone's gonna just surprise themselves because before the injury, if you've ever thought about what it would be like to be paralyzed, I even now, like I get people tell me all the time, that I'll meet in my travels and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't know if I could do it." And I'm like, you surprise yourself when you don't have any other option, like you'll do it. So I think just surviving and moving forward and becoming successful after having a disability, right, is a big surprise. But more recently, I was asked to go and do the commencement speech at my hometown's high school. And I got to tell you, as someone that skated by in high school, I never would have imagined in a million years that I would ever be asked back to do the commencement speech for a group of high schoolers. And it took, this injury and overcoming this injury to really put me in a position to tell my story. And I think that change, right? Like that just evolve that evolution over the last decade of dealing with this injury and becoming successful has added up to that surprise of being like, wow, like I've really come full circle back to this hometown and I've really made something of myself. And a lot of it has to do with how I've overcome this adversity. And
Yeah, like when you graduated, you probably never thought I'll be back here to make the commencement speech.
I didn't think I'd be back there at all,
Yeah,
let
ever.
alone to do the commencement speech. Like, yeah, so
It's
yeah, it's really
wild.
cool. Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much. Does anyone on the panel have any questions before we finish up? Anyone watching? Jane, Pete, Howard. Oh, I guess Howie, is that your dad, Howard?
Yeah, that's my dad.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions for anyone on the panel, Ed, Austin, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I can move on to my final question here. Anyone?
Well, I just want to say thank you, for joining and for sharing your stories and giving that insight, that you can give, about overcoming the adversities you have overcome. And I really appreciate that. And I'd be very grateful if you join the community and, keep the communication going. And, let's try to build something within this FighterHeart community, to really help as many people as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Thank you guys for doing this. We do have a question. So, Matt, what's your personal record for squat, deadlift, and bench?
Oh man, I this is gonna be embarrassing, but I don't actually know what my total is. So we look at total in powerlifting when you add up the squat, bench, and deadlift. I know my individual lifts, but I don't know off the top of my head what my max total is because I just don't focus on that kind of stuff as much. I get down to like one specific lift. Usually it's the squat because it's the hardest for me. But in competition, best squat is 462, which I did last December. Best bench is my best bench right now in comp is actually only 304 in raw. We do this thing called geared lifting where we lift in like bench shirts and stuff like that, and I've done 525 in that before. But raw it's only 304, but we're gonna blow that out of the water this time. It should be set up to add 30 plus pounds to that, so I'm excited for that. And then deadlift I've pulled 550 and looking to get about 573 this time.
That's pretty exact. Wow. Yeah, we just they just
Yeah, I
said.
just don't know what off the top of my head what they add up to, but yeah, it's a good time. It's been a great sport to be involved in.
Someone added it up for you. 1316.
Okay, sweet. So
Yeah.
maybe 1400 plus this time. That'd be awesome.
Wild, man. All right. So here, this one, you don't have to put too much crazy thought into it, but let's say your life was getting made into a movie. What would the title of the movie be? Anyone have anything that comes to mind right away? Feel free. Whoever wants to answer, if you have it, go for it.
I've got one, and it's not PC, but it's a high performance cripple. And the tagline's everything's accessible if you're not a pussy.
that's the subline, the subtitle. Yeah, we'll make that one rated R. We'll see. We'll watch that in the movie.
That one out.
You guys have one, Matt or Sherown? Do you have a
Yeah, mine would actually be the same title as a book. Me and my partner in the business, Austin, who's on the call right now. He's got an unbelievable story himself, but it'd probably be The Impossible Mind, which is a book we're writing right now. Basically just about because we've always felt that we're not particularly physically gifted in any particular way, but it's our mental, emotional, spiritual strength where we really, really thrive. And our business Impossible Performance is all kind of built around that theme. So we'd go with The Impossible Mind.
Very cool. Sherown?
If I was allowed to use poor language, it'd probably be something like "Oh fuck, keep going." But if it was an actual movie title, it'd probably be something more around purpose and effort, just because having some type of direction gets you pretty far, and then definitely got to have the effort behind it. Like I appreciate a lot of Matt's honesty with drinking and stuff because I have some friends that have dealt with alcoholism, and it's like they have that tick where they're willing to like push themselves to a limit even if it's with alcohol, but then when you just learn how to apply it in a different direction, it's amazing what you can do. And, same thing with Howie, like being able to take his situation and make the best of it and charge forward. Like when you have purpose and effort for something, like it is just amazing what people are capable of.
Totally, man. I would buy a ticket to all your movies. Be interesting. So how can we follow you guys? And if you have any, I know Matt has the Impossible Mind that he's gonna be promoting soon and his business. Do you guys have any businesses or how we can follow your journeys on social media? Howie, you want to start?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, like how can we follow your journey on social media? What are your tags? And do you have any businesses that you want to promote?
Yeah,
Causes?
my tag is I'm too old for IG. So I'm too old for Instagram. Um, that's my tag right now. But we've got another one in the works right now. It is High Performance Cripple, and
Oh,
me and my girlfriend are actually working on a business to start uh, trying to help kind of push ADA in a direction that's less about the rules and more about what actually makes things accessible for people. Not just having the ADA doorway that's 36 inches, but like having it functional for a range of disabilities. You roll into a hotel room and it's the ADA room, and they got a seat in there for me, but the all the soaps and shampoos are on the other wall.
yeah.
Like,
I
and
never
so
understood that. The grab bars are like on the other side of the
yeah.
the bathroom. Yeah.
And so yeah, so High Performance Cripple, like we're getting that started up, and in the hopes of making the world more accessible and inclusive.
Very cool. Sharon, what do you got?
I don't have any personal businesses going, but I mean, the people that have helped me, whether it's like Craig Hospital, Plan Foundation, they all help people with spinal cord injuries, Unite to Fight Paralysis, even my gym, Vasa, like for getting me a membership and, allowing me to go in there and make my little dumb workout videos and stuff like that and feeling like it's worthwhile sharing. Like those things are meaningful and friends for modifying my home, Ferris General Contracting, just the people out there helping me move forward and helping me take care of life and business.
Yeah, the community.
Yeah.
Matt, I know you got the Impossible Mind.
Yeah, that's the book we're working on right now. But our business is Impossible Performance. We're at impossibleperformance.com. We're on pretty much every social media is impossible.performance. And then our like biggest main platform we put most of our time and energy into is our podcast, the Impossible Podcast. There's the theme here. So it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, pretty much any platform as well. You can listen to podcasts on. That's our like long form for a lot of these discussions, and that's really where our heart and our energy and passion is. But I'd also want to mention we have partnered with the United States Powerlifting Coalition, powerlifting federations, and they have decided they want to be kind of the frontiersmen of adaptive athletes in strength sports. So we partnered with them to create the full, truly adaptable um, para and adaptive division for strength sports. Because right now in the Paralympics, it's bench only, and there's a lot of really amazing adaptive athletes. Like we got one guy who doesn't, he's missing both arms. And it's just there's not really a good way to adapt the bench press when you don't have
Yeah.
it's really allows the athletes to compete in squat, bench, and deadlift. Adaptations on a case by case basis. But we're getting ready to host the first para division nationals here in August. It's at that meet I'll be squatting 500 at. So we're really excited to lay ahead for this division. So if any of you guys, including you, Sharon and Howie, if you guys ever want to come out and do some strength sports, competition or training or anything like that, you can compete at any USPC competition in America in the para or adaptive division, and we're always looking for more athletes. So anybody, you guys or anybody you know is always welcome out.
Very cool. All right, well, that's it here, guys. Thanks again for coming on. We appreciate it. Everyone else, do yourselves a favor, go back and check out the individual interviews we had with everyone on the panel today, and you'll learn a lot more about their personal stories. But again, thanks again, and we will see you guys all again next week.